What's happening, guys? I've got a rad shelter to show you. It's ultra light. It doesn't make you feel like you're sleeping in a coffin. It's a solo backpack hunter's dream. It's the Argali Owyhee one-person tent. I'm going to give you the rundown, my experience, show you how to set it up, the whole nine. Stick around. All right, guys, before we get this all set up, I brought a scale out here. This shelter's really ultra light, and I just want to show the numbers that I'm coming up with. And that's about all of the specs I'm going to spew at you. So this is what we got here. This is the insert, and this is the tent right here. And then I have the trekking pole right here too. This is a Carbon X pole. And I got a little scale here that we can use to show the weight. All right, that's on ounces. Okay, so tent, here we go. Let's stay. All right, 13.7 ounces for the tent. The stakes are not in here. I have the stakes in the insert bag, okay? Here's the insert. Okay, we got 1 pound, 4.6 ounces. All right. And then we'll just weigh this just for fun. One Carbon X pole is 7.9 ounces. There you go. So the total is, all right, now that we got that out of the way, that's about all the specs I'm going to spew at you. We're going to get this thing set up. I'm going to show you how I set it up. There's a little bit of a learning curve that comes with it. Argali put out a great video on it that'll walk you through it. But hopefully after watching this and watching their video, you'll have a much better idea of how to get this thing pitched right for you. So let's go get this thing set up. Okay, so the Owyhee one-person can be run in either floorless mode or with the insert, and it could also be set up with either a trekking pole or I actually use the Rincon two-person carbon pole that Argali sells. I've set it up with that before. I like having two trekking poles with me when I'm out hunting, just in case I get something down. I like having that stability. So you can run it either way. If you run it floorless, I just want to show you how small this thing packs down. Like, it can be compressed quite a bit. This is just the tent. Like, check that out, man. That's wicked small, wicked lightweight. So pretty awesome if you're gonna run floorless. But down here in Arizona, I don't run floorless at all. I do all my tents with an insert. There's just a lot of stuff crawling around, and I like getting a good night's sleep. So that's how we're gonna set it up. All right, so got the tiny hammer, tent, insert. What we're gonna do first is I'm gonna get the insert out, okay? And this is where I have all the stakes in here. Unroll that. So this tent is gonna set up with 6 stakes, okay? I have a little bit extra here that I bring with me just in case I want to guy it out if it's really windy or anything like that, but just using the 6 stakeout points has worked really well for me, and I actually haven't had to guy the tent out, and it's been in some pretty gnarly conditions. So when you get the tent, this is going to come with these Argali stakes. These work pretty good in most situations. Down here in Arizona, it's really, really rocky though, and Arizona ground goes through stakes like nobody's business. So I kind of have a mix here of the Argali stakes and some of these MSR groundhog stakes I really like. So yeah, that's the stakes right there. So you're gonna open this up. Here's the front door right here. Okay, so we got the insert laid out. What I like to do now, before I stake anything out, is I want to take the tent itself, okay, and I'm going to attach it to the insert. And I'll show you how I do that here. Just the tent. Okay. Show you what's going on here. Each one of these stakeout points, with the exception of the vestibule stakeout point, okay, each one of these has this, there's a little hook here. All right, that right there is going to attach right to here, this little loop. All right, so I'm just going to attach all of those to all the corners, okay, and the back has a hook too, right here, that back there, and the hook, little loop right there. I'm going to attach all of those, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to loosen these line lock adjusters. There's line lock adjusters on all of the stakeout points. With the exception, I'm not going to adjust the vestibule one at all. That one's not super important right now. So yeah, I'm going to do that. And what that is going to do is that's just going to give you room for adjustment once you get it pitched, once you get the pole in there and get it pitched. Okay, so I'm going to go around and do that, and then we'll move on. So on each one of these line lock adjusters, the one attached to the tent and the one attached to the insert, I'm kind of loosening it to like a halfway point, and that is going to give you like the most range and adjustment. You want to tighten or loosen once you get it pitched. All right, we got everything attached. Now I'm going to take my handy dandy tiny hammer here, and I'm going to stake out the four corners, the four main corners. And where I'm going to put the stake, I'm not going to put the stake through the insert line lock adjuster. I'm going to put the stake through the tent line lock adjuster. Okay, there's a loop there, and I'll show you here in a second. That's gonna give you the best pitch by putting it through that one. So here's the tent one right here, and here's the insert. You don't want to put the stake through here. I did that in the past, and I got bad results from it, a bad pitch. You want to put the stake through here. Okay, so I'm gonna grab a stake, put it through here. That's a rock. Of course, I hit a rock. Very nice. Okay, so as you're doing this, I got these two corners in here. As you're doing this, you don't want to pull super tight, okay? I just like to pull it to the point where it's loose but not necessarily taut, if that makes sense. So I'm not pulling it super tight, I'm just kind of taking most of the tension out between the corners and then staking it down. Okay, we got all the four corners staked out. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put the pole in, okay? This will not stand by itself unless you stake out the vestibule point, okay? So you can't just put the pole in there with the four corners and go about your business and start tightening stuff up. You have to be ready to stake out the vestibule point, because that is what is going to give the tension for the pole to stay up, okay? So we're going to just open this up. Just open up the door here of the vestibule. Open up the door to the insert. Pole, got the pole here. In terms of the length, I honestly just kind of feel it out. The only thing I can tell you here is don't put it too high. So I kind of go for like a midway point. Just kind of put it in here and judge it after the fact. So that right there, a little higher than that. Just kind of put it like right about there. So just for some reference, I'm at 140 centimeters on the middle adjustment and hardly anything on the top adjustment. So that is that. Okay, now I need to stake out the vestibule because it will not stand by itself. Okay, so you see, watch, it's gonna fall over. It'll fall backwards like that. So you need to stake out the vestibule for it to stand. So I'm gonna do that. Okay, so looks a little wonky, right? This is where all the adjustments come in. You go around and you start tightening stuff up, and we'll fine tune the adjustment of the pole, and it'll get this thing looking real nice. So show you how we do that. We're gonna go around the four corners first. All right, so I'm gonna go to each one of these corners right here. Pull, try to do this with one hand. Pull that. Do that. Tighter there. Around this way. Pull that. That. Okay. Looking a little bit better. We're gonna go into the tent now and make some other adjustments. So once the tent is at the point where it's pretty good, like well pitched for the most part, the four corners in the vestibule, I'll show you what this looks like. Okay. Go around like this. Okay. And then we're gonna go right here and put in the last stakeout point and pull it out this way. If you're noticing, you kind of got to play with it a little bit, okay? And this is where like the learning curve part comes in. You follow the process of what I did earlier, okay? Of putting the four corners in, you know, when I put the pole in, all that jazz. And then you kind of go around and play with the tension, right? And you might have to, like what I had to do here was I had to release tension there, okay? And here. And then I tightened this, and that made everything even out, okay? So you're noticing somewhere a little tight, loosen it up and tighten that other side, and so on and so forth, and you kind of give and take throughout the tent. And once you get the hang of that, you'll get to be able to pitch it a lot faster. Okay, so before we get in the tent, I got to show you something. The inside of the tent right now, the floor is not taut. All right, so check it out. See the floor? Like it's all right, but it's pretty loose. We got to go to each one of these line lock adjusters on the insert now, and that's going to tighten up the floor for us. All right, look at that. Everything's nice and tight now, nice and taut. Very nice. You can even play with where this pole sits. Like I pulled it a little bit this way, and it tightened that up right there. By the way, this is where the pole sits. It's this nice little reinforcement pad right here. Good to go. Everything is set up. At this point is when I would start putting in my sleeping pad and all my, my sleeping bag, everything like that. So I'm gonna get in here, give you a little bit of size reference. I am 5'11", 179 pounds. So I have plenty of room in here on either side of me. I can sit up. It's totally chill in there. So I get in here. All right, one down. Okay, so I've got, you can see, I've got about 10 inches or so on my left side, and then about 1.5 feet on my right side. So plenty of room to lay out like extra clothing. Like sometimes I bring a book with me, you know, your phone, whatever, lights, plenty of extra room. My feet, okay, are right at the insert down here, but down at my head I've got about 1 foot of space, maybe more, maybe a little bit more than that on the head end, and which is one of the coolest things about this shelter, in my opinion. There's not necessarily a head and a foot end. Okay, like some shelters, like minimalist shelters I've used in the past, there is literally like the head end is a little higher, and then there's a foot end that's shorter, which is fine. But until you need to like flip around in your tent, like. Just this past August or September, I was in the high country hunting mule deer, and I pitched my tent, I put my stuff in there, and I noticed that, oh dang, my head end, like where I originally placed my head, was slightly on the downhill side. If you've done this at all, you know that you don't want your head on the downhill side. You'll wake up with a headache. It sucks because all the blood rushes to your head. Because of this though, this like universal head and foot end, like there's not, like they're both the same. I was able to just flip around in the tent, no worries, all was good, slept great. And then right up here there is a little like a loop up here. I'll show you. Right up in here, right up in here, there's a little loop here, right there. That right there is what I will hang a little light from. I'll hang like a little lantern from there, and it'll light up the tent so I can get ready for bed and everything like that. All right, so my experience with the Owyhee one person. First trip I took it out on was an early spring bear hunt in Arizona. I went in solo, probably 8-9 miles. Really great hunt, the first hunt to test it out on, because I was going in further. And I wanted to be as lightweight as possible. So ran this all like this. I brought the trekking pole, ran it with the trekking pole and everything, and had a great experience. I was super impressed with the amount of livability on the inside of the tent. Solo shelters I've used in the past have often given me like a coffin-like feel. There's not a lot of room to move around at all. I love that this thing is side entry, okay? Like front entry tents kind of grind my gears a little bit. Like they're doable, but in my opinion, they just make things a little harder. Another thing that was great was the vestibule. There is ample room in this vestibule for all of my gear. Like I have, when I go to sleep at night, I have my backpack, my bino harness, my bow, okay, and maybe like a bottle of water or something like that. I have that all right here in the vestibule on this side of the vestibule, okay? So I have room to get out if I need to in the middle of the night. You know, you need to go to the bathroom, or just in the morning when you get up, you know, you're getting out of the tent. This stuff is not in the way. I don't have to like move it out of the way, which is something I do have to do in a front entry solo shelter. Like all the stuff is in the way, okay? There's no easy way of getting out of that. So another plus for this. Awesome that it's side entry. I also really like that you can set this thing up. The thing sets up with the rainfly on top of it, all right? Which means that you can set this up in a rainstorm, okay? You gotta have your wits about you and get this thing hooked up to the insert in time, right? Like you can't dilly-dally, but you can set this up in a rainstorm because the rainfly is covering the insert of the tent. I run this separately, okay? I pack them separately. You can pack them together though if you wanted to just completely avoid that, right? You just leave the tent attached to the insert, those hooks on the loops right there, and roll it up and shove it down in your backpack like that if you wanted to. You could absolutely do that. The only real downside I've found with the tent is, like I said in the beginning, is the setup process. Like, you have to, I highly suggest, man, I said it earlier, I'm gonna say it again, go watch the video that Argali put out on how to set up the Owyhee. All right, you watch this video, obviously, you go watch that video, and you're gonna have a much better understanding of how to set this thing up, because I can almost guarantee you, if you don't, you're probably gonna set this thing up wrong and get a bad pitch. That's exactly what happened to me, and I had to call up Brad Brooks from Argali to ask him, hey, how do I set this thing up right? And once he laid it out for me, then I was off to the races with it. The rest of the hunts I brought this on was, I had it in the high country for mule deer in Colorado. Had, you know, all manner of weather there. It was hot, and then there was rain. So the next hunt I had it on was a fall black bear hunt in Arizona. We experienced everything from 90+ degree weather down into the 40s, and it performed awesome. I slept great, and there was quite a bit of wind on that hunt and everything too. And I was really happy with how it turned out. I really dig this tent. I do a lot of solo backpack hunting. You know, even if you're with a friend, you know, it pays to have something like this. It's as lightweight as you can get for the amount of livability in there, man. Like, there's plenty of room. You don't feel like you're in a coffin. And it's reliable. It's absolutely reliable. So I also wrote a review. I'll try to remember to drop the link in the down there in the description on this if you want to actually read about the tent. You can, if you want to learn more about the Owyhee one person, you can go over to argalioutdoors.com. They got all the juicy specs listed for you, and that setup video is there too. Watch that. Pick yourself up one of these. I swear, like, this is, in my opinion, this is like the bee's knees of solo backpack hunting shelters. Really, really impressed with it, and I look forward to spending many more nights in this thing. If you liked the video, please hit thumbs up. If you like the channel, please hit subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.